think I just found evidence of one of the biggest natural disaster cover-ups in American history. Okay, so do we all remember the massive wildfires in Los Angeles that started on January 7th of this year? Well, quote-unquote, investigators have been scouring the wreckage for months, hoping to find the cause. But what if I told you the answer is actually right in front of them in a place where they aren't allowed to look? Because this picture that I showed you before is not from the really big fire that burned down thousands of homes, but it is actually a photo from another fire that started 6 days earlier in the exact same spot. That's right, there wasn't a lot of media coverage about this for obvious reasons, but an 8-acre brush fire broke out in the Pacific Palisades on the morning of January 1st, they say likely due to New Year's Eve fireworks. Here are the side-by-side photos of the two fires, the one on January 1st and the one on the 7th, taken from the exact same angle. I mean, they look identical, except one was at night and the other during the day. Here's the overhead map showing once again both fires, the Laughlin fire on the 1st and the Palisades fire on the 7th, in the exact same spot. Now, according to this tweet posted by the LA Fire Department at 4:48 a.m. on January 1st, the Laughlin fire was supposedly, quote, fully contained that morning. But was it actually fully put out? Because according to a local resident, over the next 6 days, from January 2nd to January 6th, residents living along Calle Germain, Lockman Lane, and Upper Palisades Drive continue to observe smoke wisps drifting from the original ignition site. These sightings, reported through 311, local neighborhood watch alerts, and social media, were consistently dismissed as, quote, Postfire Haze. In fact, CBS News interviewed a man named Zane Mitchell who hiked the Temescal Ridge Trail the morning of January 1st, and he reported that parts of the ground by the Lockman Fire's burn scar were, quote, still smoldering. This is a picture that he took that morning, clearly the ground still smoldering. Now, I did some research, and according to wildfire experts, lingering hotspots can reignite under favoring conditions, which is exactly what we had in the coming days. But of course, the big question is, were there hotspots? That we don't know for sure because the city didn't bother following up. Quote, no drone surveillance was deployed, no infrared scans were conducted, allegedly. But don't fret, NASA, which is still there for now, has a satellite called Sentinel-2, and looking at those images, there does appear to be persistent heat signatures left by the January 1st fire. You can see in this image on the left from December 28th, all green, and then on the right, January 2nd, the exact same spot is now red, suggesting that the fire indeed wasn't fully put out. I mean, I don't think there is quite literally a better smoking gun. And just so everybody knows, not doing a proper thermal imaging after a fire is a protocol violation, which once again, the city allegedly did not do. Now, of course, nobody, not the fire chief, not Karen Bass, certainly not Gavin Newsom, can admit to any of this because it necessarily makes them liable for criminal negligence. Okay, we're talking deaths, property loss, damages into the hundreds of billions of dollars, because if those two fires are linked, it turns this from an act of God to now a breach of protocol for not properly extinguishing a previous fire, which at this point maybe also explains why the city has still refused to release records of the LA Fire Department's actions leading up to the fire, which includes 911 calls, dispatch logs, and internal communications. Hard to imagine, or at the very least come up with a legitimate reason why they wouldn't want that information to be public, other than possibly a cover-up. LA's Deputy Fire Chief Everett has also, on the record, publicly expressed skepticism that the Palisades fire was sparked by a rekindling of the earlier blaze, saying, quote, that fire was dead out. But was it? Or are there just 160 billion reasons for him to say that? My name is James Lee. This is the 5149 Show. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you want to support independent journalism, please hit that like button, subscribe, share this video so together we can take on the mainstream media machine and the corrupt politicians destroying America.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster?